Something that we have been trying to build for the past 2 years is finally going to launch. This church has been woven into that work, and it's become very much a part of our own identity. When we did a leadership retreat 2 weeks ago, this came up as the most voted thing that our church was engaged in many good ways. You're probably tired of hearing IAF, relationship building and so forth, but we are coming up to the launch. We are coming up to a point where we are able to stand alongside other people of faith, other organizations, including the Lighthouse, gather 1,000 people into a building for one thing alone. And I've been asked, what are we going to pin them on? What are we going to make our elected officials do? We're going to make them do one thing on Thursday night. One thing. Recognize us. The word recognize comes from the root to know again. And if there is something that is broken in our country in a way that I've not seen ever before, it is the fact that people do not recognize other people. If the story of this past week has any real resonance, one of the things that's going on is that people in power do not recognize people anymore. We do not know the people to whom we are talking or making laws for, or even know who they are. On Thursday night, all we are going to ask of our elected officials is for recognition. You see us. You see over 1,000 people gathered into a building for the sole purpose of reminding you that if you are elected, we will keep asking and asking and asking for what our community needs. Now, there is a danger to inviting somebody to something that you're not sure about, that you've never done before. And that is, if we don't get 1,000 people, it's going to look bad. If we get 959 people in there, it's a good number, but it's not what we said. We hold ourselves accountable for what we said we will do, because we, in that act of recognition, need to hold them accountable for what they said they will do. So our testimony of faith tonight is, why are you showing up to this? Who's going? It's good. How many people, Jess, have said that they're coming?
51.
51. How many did we pledge?
85.
85. So the United Church of Christ of Annapolis right now would be able to say with some confidence, we pledged 85 people and we brought 51. Do we want that to happen? No, we don't. We want you to be there. And to be there, you've got to pledge to not only be there, but probably grab some other people too. We're going to need you to reach out. But in order to reach out, we got to know why you want to be there. So I'm going to invite you, if you're willing, I'm going to roll around with this mic. Why are you going? Just raise your hand and I'll bring it over to you.
Hi, I'm Jess. For me, showing up is about giving people who don't have a voice power. And I urge you to believe that showing up is an act of power. It's giving people who don't have power, because it's giving this body the recognition that Ryan's talking about, but what that really is power. And these are people that don't have power. Almost everybody in this room has some amount of power, but there are a lot of people who don't. So by you showing up, you're giving power to people who don't have power. So that's why I'm going, is because I do have a lot of power and I want other people to have power too. So I encourage you to believe that by showing up, you are being powerful. You are giving power to people who are powerless.
Thank you.
Somebody who's been in politics since I was 18 years old, which is about 10 years ago. I know what it means to be there and show up and let our county execs and our legislators understand what we need out there, and we are voters, and we need to be heard. And it is very powerful to see all those people out there and what our message is, and we have a social message, and we need to hold them accountable for the social injustice and all the other things that are basically wrong with our community, and we will make a difference.
Hi, my name is Irish. After conducting and sitting in on several listening sessions and doing one-on-one listening sessions as well, it was very easy to fill an hour of what the problems are and what's good in the county. So being able to go on Thursday night, I'm there not just representing them, but also inviting them in to participate in what is going to happen. And every time that I've gone to, let's say, the pre-launches, it has been amazing. And I'll be in the choir. Ryan is co-chairing. Bill is talking, or Jim is talking. We're all involved.
I give 2 reasons. My first is that right now we send our little kids, including our kindergartner, to school with water bottles because we don't know for sure if there's lead in their drinking water at school. And we know for a fact that there are parents out there who are working 2 jobs or 3 jobs or who don't have email, who aren't sending their kids with water bottles because they don't have that information that we have. The second reason is that I used to work very closely with people on Capitol Hill, and what we would know is that if a member of Congress got 5 phone calls from people in their district, they would take notice immediately. Nobody, like 1,000 people don't show up to anything anywhere, right? I mean, this is how you actually get their attention and force them to do their jobs.
Hi, Chris. One of the reasons that I really think IAF is something that we need to be involved in is that it's not just one issue. There is something in your life that reflects what we're working on. There are research action teams, there are committees that focus on mental health, on prison reform, on all of these different aspects. And I guarantee you there's some part of your life and somebody that you're close to that has been touched by something that we are working to improve in this county. And that's something to me that says we're bringing people together because we all have these things in common. And that's really where we gain that power, is finding those relationships and that commonality.
If you've been to an IAF gathering, you heard that we always raise up stories coming from there. One of those stories is coming from this congregation this time. Jim is going to share his own story at that event. And that requires some bravery to stand in front of that many people and to share a personal story about yourself. Our congregation has been engaged in this. We have learned that vulnerability. I have become a better leader and more vulnerable in myself, and learning how to use precise language around things that I am shameful of, or things that I have done, or things I have because of this work. So folks, right before the collection, I'm going to ask if people can help with carpools, because parking is going to be a challenge. There are people in our congregation who I'm sure are having trouble getting there, or are worried about the parking, or whatever it is. We're going to try to make this as easy as possible to get there. We are. We want to make sure that you can be there to participate in this. It's not just about hitting those numbers. This is about saying, this matters to me. This matters to me. The stories that we're going to be sharing, we've got a mother whose one child was killed by gun violence, another child killed another child, and she is worried about those guns. She is worried about the future. We have a child who is afraid, who can't stand up there, a young teenager, because she doesn't want to admit to the world that she has a mental illness. But we're going to give her an opportunity to share her story at that moment, because we're going to record it. It's anonymous, but we're going to hear that story. They need you to show up. They need you to be there, to give power to those voices, so that the people who are there know that when we meet with them, even when 8 people meet with somebody to talk about any of those issues, they're backed by the people in that room. We need you there. So I hope that you'll take that time. I hope that you'll be there. I hope that you will show up. I know that Carletta Allen, who's pastor of Asbury Methodist Church, she said at the rehearsal, she said, if you do nothing else this year, if you need to cancel Christmas, be there on October 4th. It is that big of a deal. Jesus would support you in canceling Christmas to be there on October 4th. I don't think she said that, but be there on October 4th. Because this is the moment where the people of Anne Arundel County demand recognition. And I know that we're taking an action 2 or 3 weeks later on the lead in the school water, and we'll be announcing that at that moment. So we are moving forward on things, but we need to show them that we're coming, and that when we talk, people listen. Okay? That's our testimony today. Thank you.